Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Do Christians have free will? No, Christians don't have free will. Let the Bible speak about the free will. If Christians have their own free will, do Christians have free will to inherit Adam's sin or not? Can you choose by your own free will not to inherit Adam's sins and be a Christian? No, you cannot. Jesus doesn't have his own free will. If you read in John chapter 5 verse 30, Jesus said, I can of my own self do nothing. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is just, because I seek not my own will, but the will of the Father which has sent me. So Jesus doesn't have even his own will. John chapter 5 verse 19. Then answered Jesus and said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself. He cannot do anything by his own self. He doesn't have his own free will to do whatever he wishes. Mark chapter 14 verse 36. Jesus said, Yet not what I will, but what you will. Luke chapter 22 verse 42. Yet not my will, but yours be done. He's saying here explicitly in those verses that he doesn't have his own will. Again in John chapter 6 verse 38. Not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. So Jesus told you explicitly several times in the Bible that he doesn't have his own will. Satan controlled Jesus for 40 days and 40 nights. Jesus didn't have his own will to go away from Satan. And you read this in Matthew chapter 4 verse 1 and verse 5. Then was Jesus led up of spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil against his own will. Then the devil taketh him up into the holy city against the will of Jesus. He was taken up to the holy city and sitteth him on the pinnacle of the temple against also his own will. You see, even he doesn't have his own will against Satan. Jesus didn't have his own free will to be crucified or not. And you read this in Matthew chapter 26 verse 39. Jesus says, Not as I will, but as thou wilt. In Matthew chapter 26 verse 42, he said also again, the will be done. So it's not his own will. It's the will of the one who has sent him. So he doesn't have his own will. God has mercy on whomever he chooses, and he hardens the heart of whomever he chooses. And you read this clearly in Romans chapter 9 verse 18. God has mercy on whomever he chooses, and he hardens the heart of whomever he chooses. So it's God who decides if you hardens your heart or not. You don't have the free will. You read also the same verse in English Standard Version or in NASB 1995. It says, He has mercy on whom he desires, and he hardens whom he desires. So you do not have your own desire even. He controls everything. You don't have the free will to choose what you want. Even in Romans chapter 9 verse 15, God says, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So those are some of the verses from the Bible which prove to you and shows you explicitly that Christians do not have their own free will, and Jesus himself, whom they claim to be their God, doesn't have his own free will. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Peace be with everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Peace be with you.